Today on Upfront, should you be allowed to develop your property the way you see fit? Next, the new plan to expand the rights of private property owners. Will it come at the expense of the environment? I'll ask the bill's author, Republican Senator Frank Lessay. Then, charges that working conditions are deteriorating in Wisconsin's prisons.
It's become a dangerous place to work.
Democratic Senator John Erpenbach on what he's calling a crisis in corrections. Plus, Governor Walker's reset for 2016 and his plans for 2018.
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Upfront. Your ability to decide what to do on your property could be greatly expanded under some bills now before state lawmakers in Madison. Two Republicans are sponsoring a package of bills they say would clarify state law on private property development and limit the authority of the DNR. But critics say local control and environmental protections, especially for waterways and wetlands, would be lost. The bills had hearings last week, and we're talking now with the Senate author, Republican Frank Lessay of De Pere. Senator Lessay, it's good to have you back on the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about why you believe this is needed. What is this about?
Well, this is about people being able to use their property, enjoy their property, and do things with their property that currently they're not able to or have a lot of difficulty and expense in order to do that. And we have a wide-ranging packages. There's two different bills that cover this, and there's a variety of different components. And we're actively working it through the process and cleaning them up so that we're being fair and balanced, I think. And there's a balance, giving people the ability to use their property and protecting the environment. We want to make sure both of those things happen.
You have said this is about economic development. How so?
Well, when people are able to do things with their property they couldn't do before, they hire workers to complete those tasks or buildings get built. I have a issue in Sturgeon Bay where there's a holdup now with some property that used to be underwater more than 100 years ago. It's been dry land for more than 100 years. The city's okay to hotel and restaurant there, and there's a lawsuit going forward because the people who don't like this and want to keep it the way it is, which nothing on it, are holding it up, and we're going to clarify that with this bill.
I want to have you respond to some of the pushback you're getting from some well, it's fishermen, it's hunters, it's conservation groups, and I'll read you a quote from Carrie Schumann, who's the executive director of the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters. The quote is, "They're putting the wishes of big developers, factory farms, frack sand mining companies, and other polluting interests above the needs of their constituents." Your response to that?
Well, and that's always, I think, often what happens in the political process is to kind of throw out there just, everything's terrible. It's all this bad stuff. And CAFOs, and there was a provision in the bill for subdevelopment of property and for once you've applied for a permit, the ability for local governments to just put a moratorium on it and put a stop to everything. That doesn't apply to CAFOs. It doesn't apply to frac sand mining. If there comes a new proposal for one of those, they can still put a hold on everything and work through their details if they don't feel they've regulated properly. So that's really outside of the scope of this bill. This bill particular in that aspect is if you're going to subdivide property, which has nothing to do with those two other things, it will not allow the rules to change once you put an application in. And that'll only apply to the state. And that, for instance, is an example of, I think, their over-the-top rhetoric.
Let's talk about a couple of specifics in this bill. Corey Mason from Racine, who's in the Assembly, said that he's concerned, and I'll ask you to comment on the package of bills since you're familiar with them, but he said he's concerned about provisions that, for example, allow a homeowner to dredge their property once a year, a fairly significant amount of dredging. Is there not the chance that in the pursuit of making their property better or doing what they want with their property that you cause an impact to neighbors, to their property? Doesn't that possibility exist?
Well, that's another example of kind of the overreach of the other side in talking about this. What we're doing in that particular instance, and about 3 truckloads of material could be removed, but there's still be a DNR permit required. It moves from a specific permit that has a lot of requirements and oftentimes testing of the soil, and just in the DNR, I taken a position of we're not going to issue those anymore. So we have citizens out there who can't legitimately dredge in front of their dock, in front of their property. Their kids can't swim anymore because it's ankle deep way out. Those sort of things, and we will move this to a general permit under this bill, which would allow it to move forward. The DNR still has say over it to make sure that the environment is protected, but they have to issue the general permit, and they don't have as many requirements to do that. And most people want to take care of, the vast majority of people want to take care of right in front of their property. They want to enjoy their property for the long term, and this would allow the DNR input and say, and not let them overreach. And that's another example where they're pretending it's wide open, but no, there's still a general permit required from the DNR.
Another criticism you hear of this is that it's become political. An example of this would be, I think the law as it currently stands right now allows the DNR board to say that we think that this waterway is of natural resource interest, and that would require a permit for a developer to do it. Under this legislation, ultimately, members of the Joint Finance Committee, rather than the DNR board, would determine whether it's an area of special natural resource interest. Why should politicians be making environmental decisions?
Well, we have the DNR now. If you look at a map of the special environmental areas throughout the state, it's almost the whole state. So the DNR, in my opinion, has overreached, and they've come in and just without really doing anything that says this area is better and needs to be protected more. We have great laws in Wisconsin protecting the environment now, and these really are more hyper laws and more strict laws in particular areas, and we should have that in areas that are particularly pristine, particularly need extra protection. But if you look at the map of the state, the DNR in their wisdom has said, well, pretty much all the state needs special protection. That was never the intent when we gave the DNR the ability to add special protections, and this would draw it back and make them come and prove to, and actually it's now in the compromises we're working through this process, it's a joint committee at administrative rules. I'm on that committee, and that committee oversees the administrative rules, because once administrative rules take effect, they have the force of law, and those come forward from the agencies. Agencies tend to look at things in their narrow interest of protection and not in the broad big picture. And that's part of what the legislature is supposed to do. And other legislators could always bring in a bill and designate other areas of the state if they feel it needs special protection in their backyard. They can bring bills forward as well. So we'll have some, and I think this will provide, again, a balance. I think it's, if they can prove an area needs to be protected specially, it shall be.
I've got only just a couple of seconds left. Two very quick questions. Is the DNR on board on this, or are they having some hesitation about backing this?
Well, the DNR has some of their own ideas on this, and we're actively working with them to get a package that makes sense. Because, again, we want to have balance between getting property owners the ability to move forward with their property, their projects, what they want to do with their property, and protect the environment. The DNR's role is to protect the environment, and sometimes they look at things, I think, a little bit too narrowly. And we're working with them, and I had conversations with the Secretary, Kathy Stepp, on this, and I think they're going to be okay with our package as we work it forward.
And as you work it forward, if and when do you expect this to reach the governor's desk?
I think by the end of session, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic that we will pass this. We are actively making changes right now. We've heard from a variety of different interests, and we've had a history in my office of working actively with them to come up with something that is reasonable and satisfies things and moves our regulatory environment forward, and again protects the property owner's ability to use their property and the environment. Both are very important.
Senator Frank Lassay, the Republican from De Pere, we appreciate your time. Thanks very much for being
You're
with us.
very welcome.
You bet. Now it's time for you to tell us what you think. Should the state expand the rights of property owners to develop as they see fit, or should current regulations remain in place? You can tell us by liking and sharing Upfront on Facebook. Next on Upfront, state Democrats pushing a series of reforms they say are needed to make prisons safer. And later, Governor Walker revealing his plans for this year and beyond. That's when Upfront continues.
Upfront with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company and the Wisconsin Corn Growers Association.